Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. SeKo Starcraft back. It's game number 2 between Virium and Senin. Game 1 in the links down below there. I'll be talking a little bit about that game because I thought there were some really interesting decisions made by both players. We saw that the Zerg player got himself a lot of time, very defensive minded though, very afraid of early game pushes. Did have a lot of time to try to get out the economy and bases he wants, but they essentially just didn't touch each other until like the 15-minute mark or something in that nature, letting the Protoss get up to 3 bases, lots of gateways, lots of upgrades. And he got out a lot better tech, I thought. The Zerg player stuck on Zergling and Hydra. They don't really benefit off each other's upgrades. I mean, you can get the armor upgrade, but they weren't able to do the big amounts of damage they needed to against these big Stalker Colossus ball that the Protoss player had. So there was a bit of an argument at the end of the game by Senin saying that, well, Hydras should be able to beat Stalkers. How come my Hydras didn't beat your Stalkers? And that's because the Stalkers were, +3 attack upgraded with Blink, and the Hydras only had +2 Carapace. So it's just a numbers game, and with the Colossus in the back, they carve through Hydras so fast. I mean, there's no wonder that composition didn't quite work out. By the time he tried to get into Ultralisk, it didn't matter anymore, and I didn't think that Ultralisk was going to be the best choice. The Protoss versus Zerg matchup is a little funky right now. There's a lot of people that don't like the swarm host style play where you just kind of sit back, build 12 of those, and keep the Protoss army pinned because it makes for kind of long, boring games. But the difficulty is that if you just go for, say, a Hydra and a Zergling composition, that's not necessarily transitioning into a really great late game style, particularly if you're going up against Blink Stalkers. Brood Lords aren't be that great against Blink Stalkers. Infestors with a little bit of fungal would be pretty good with Hydras and Zerglings. And we saw that the Ultralisks, even after they came out, really couldn't get that much done against the army composition. And once you're on Colossus tech, it's not that hard to transition into Immortal tech, and then Immortals just kill face against Ultras. So the matchup in its sense is very different, and I encourage people to take a look at some of the games I casted with Liquid Snoot, playing against a Protoss, a really good Protoss, I think it was Jacko, and was able to just play a fantastic long style game with swarm hosts into lots of corruptors, tons of static defenses, and we saw Senin sitting around with like 2,000, 1,000 in the bank. If he had maybe turned some of that into more static defenses, maybe he would have bought himself a bit more time. Maybe that extra little bit of DPS would have helped him turn the tide, because I just don't think he had what it really took composition-wise to break down what was pretty much the ideal Protoss composition. This base is going to go down just fine. It's not even going to be a Forge cannon expansion, which I like. It's kind of weird to see this. Generally, if you're going to go for this low ground block off, it's going to be a Forge cannon. But because it's a 4-player map and there's a lot of time and opportunity, you can actually just go straight into the tech structures you want and get out that mothership core, and you'll generally be just fine. You see the Protoss has got a little lead on the workers, and actually should probably be able to keep that fairly consistent just because of the chrono boost. Third hatch down a lot sooner for the Zerg this game. And I'm going to go have some coffee, as I'm not feeling super good, as I was talking about in the first game. A little bit under the weather. If you can't tell, it's because I'm hyped up on caffeine and Advils. If I'm not supposed to mix those two, I didn't know, but it sure makes me feel good one way or the other. Yeah, Stargate tech, I like. Nothing really else in place to scout. There's no Overlord making the way over. I like the idea of sending one more Overlord over to go for that scout on the other side. We'll see if it's going to be Phoenix play. Really digging the mass Phoenix play against Zerg right now. I've seen a lot of people get out 10 to 15 Phoenixes. Because if you're going up against a Hydra composition, you can still move into a Colossus and Stalker based army underneath. And if you can pick up Hydras in small numbers with Phoenixes, you cut through them so fast because they're light units that Phoenixes work so well. They can't transition into Mutalisk, which is somewhat popular still because of all the Scarlet replays. It just allows you to control a lot of stuff, and it kills all the vision. You usually can pick off tons and tons of Overlords. It's a style that I want to give a try at, playing a little bit of Protoss, see if I can go up against some Zergs and try some big Phoenix. You guys might be happy to know I made it into Platinum League, somehow. I was like ranked 12th in Gold, and then I just logged in, I think it was this morning, played a couple of games. Well, I played, just 2 games, lost one, won another, and I didn't win it very well. And it's like, congratulations, you're in platinum. Like, what happened to all the other gold rankings I didn't get? Was rather strange, I must say. Oracle, don't know if it was spotted. We'll see if we can get some kills off. Queens do ward those away pretty good. Oracles are nice because they can get away from just about anything, so the scouting is good. Not the best target firing here. Almost going to lose that Oracle. Not great control out of Virium. A lot of the times, if you do go for this Oracle, it's almost impossible to not do a lot of damage with it. But he only managed to get 2 worker kills. And we already have Spore Crawlers down in every base and the Hydra down on the way. So looks like we're probably going to see another Zergling Hydra composition. Evo Chamber is down. Hasn't started researching anything yet. There we go. He is going to be getting out the attack upgrades for his Hydras. Really fast 3rd Nexus here. Now if the Hydra numbers come out good enough, he might be able to come over and pressure this. These Void Rays are obviously going to keep him safe against any type of units like Zerglings. But the Hydras could carve through those pretty fast. Ah, yes. Coffee. Zerg is keeping the watchtowers. Got a good view of the map. Units all over the place, so he can see anything sneaky coming in. Grabs that 1 pro, but I'm sure that Virium's not going to lose sleep about that. Still droning up pretty heavy for the Zerg player, which I also like. Last game we saw that the Protoss player had the economy lead pretty much the entire time. So now I think the Zerg player has finally figured out a couple of his gaps. 1 was his upgrades, and 2 was having an economy good enough. And I mean, it's hard to say that it wasn't good enough. He had that huge bank last game, but if you just have that overwhelming economy, sometimes it's easier to trade units or be a little bit more comfortable to do so. This is a lot of Void Rays. Double Starport Void Rays. Kind of surprised he's not upgrading ship weapons if he's committing this heavily into air. He's got +1 for his ground. But if he's already up to, I think this is going to be 6 Void Rays. You do really want to have that extra amount of damage that you can do. Zealot leg speed, the charge coming in. It's nice to be able to balance out your army with some really, really strong Zealot play because it doesn't take up your gas. +2 immediately started. There's the +1 air. And Zealots with charge do really good against Hydras because they can get on top of that army composition really quickly. These Void Rays would be able to just kill this base. Now he's got to be very careful. These Infestors are going to pop pretty soon with the Pathogen Glands. And enough Hydras to take this out. So if he gets caught in the wrong spot here with his army, he might be able to recall. You know, it's always an option. But he might end up just totally obliterated here. This is kind of a cool poke, but this is a lot of what his army is. Duh. Does lose the Mothership Core. Dancing a little bit here. Once again, a fungal hits that, and he's in a lot of poop. Storm happening as well. A lot more tech out of the Protoss player this game than last. With these Infestors mixed in with the Hydras, I actually think this is the right composition here for Senin to come and get some damage. Even if he's got to use a lot of Infested Terrans, I think he will be able to break. He's paying attention to Sentry, yep. Good timing on that. Not a lot of Hydras in this bit here. Storm's going to be done here pretty quick. I don't know if these guys are going to have enough energy. No. Still a few seconds away from having enough energy. I like this. If you got a few extra bucks, you might as well throw down a cannon or two. That's just going to make sure that you're not going to lose to... well, not lose, but you're not going to get taken out by a couple of cheeky run-bys. I'll clean that up just fine. Still going into Mass Void Rays here. Mass Void Rays and lots of Storms might be good for some Archons. I think the Zerg player is pretty happy with the position he's in. He is moving into Mass Swarm Hosts. Creep Spread is doing alright. This map's kind of difficult for Swarm Hosts sometimes, because if you're only around the Watchtowers, they can easily circumvent your army and come down. Smartly, the Zerg player is expanding to the south and has got a static defense or two here. So what you really need to do is start hitting the front, be able to control this area so that way they can't run past you. This amount of Void Rays means that his Hydra control is going to have to be top notch. Alright. That person can wait. I'll call him back later. There's going to be a few Archons. Lots of Storms. So the difficulty now with trying to deal with a Swarmos composition without any Colossus is that you're really going to have to dominate the air control. You don't have that area of effect, that good area of effect to deal with these infinite locusts. It could be tough for the Protoss player. Zerg player is about maxed out. Spire is about to finish up. I would like to see some Spores and Spines. Actually loses an Archon there and a few of these Zealots. Once again, free units. Unfortunately, his Hydras are not with this, so this would be a good time to poke down and be able to maybe hit some pressure. But I don't know if he's got... Yeah, he doesn't have any Robos for detection right now. So this is a really cool composition from the Protoss player, but it's actually a really bad one for what he's up against. Enduring Locusts are already done, so by the time the first round is finished, the second round is already on the way. Creep spread is fantastic here. This base is not going to be long for this world. As soon as the... Yeah, I was supposed to say, as soon as the Zerg notices, he's just going to go over there and take care of it. Well, the good thing is Locusts don't shoot up. I can't remember. Does anybody remember if in the beta of this, Locust shot up? For some reason, I remember something like that. That Locust could shoot ground and air in their first iteration. There's the static defenses. I think those are actually just... Where are they getting made? I don't mind putting some up in your base, actually. That just means that you're not going to get run past with a Robo. Locusts are going to have to re-rally here. He's getting flanked pretty heavy. Storms do a good job against Swarm Hosts. See them Fungals. There we go. It's a good Fungal. Enough Hydras and plenty enough Infested Terrans. And the Protoss just leaves. He got slaughtered in that one. That's essentially just a build order win. The Protoss did not scout enough. In Game 1 we saw all those hallucinated Phoenixes running around everywhere. And we're just able to control everything. I think that if the Protoss player was going to go blindly for this mass Void Ray play, he would have to know what kind of composition he was going to be going up against a little bit better. Good win out of Senin. Seemed like a very simple win. SeKo Starcraft, we're off to the deciding game number 3.